Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's program of Eyes on Omaha. I am your humble host, Mary Newbern Williams, and today we have a very special guest. We'd like for all of you to get to know a lovely lady and my new friend and colleague, Pat Washburn. Pat is engaged in a very important program here in and around the Omaha area and around the country. And Pat, we are grateful to have you here today, and we'd like to know all about you and the program that you are in charge of.
Thank you so very much. So my story actually starts back about 3 years ago. My husband did not know that men could get breast cancer.
Yes.
And my husband had been in education for 41 years. He was what I would consider a very, very smart man, very well-versed, yes. But he had never read anything about breast cancer in men. And he went into the doctor 3 years ago in December, and he was diagnosed with metastatic stage 4 breast cancer.
That's quite advanced.
It was very advanced, and we did not know that anything was wrong with him. He did have a lump, but he had passed it off as thinking that it was another lipoma, because he did have lipomas. And as you're probably aware, a lipoma is a non-cancerous fatty mass that a lot of people have.
Certainly.
And he did have the lump on his left breast, but he said if he realized he had it, he just assumed it was another lipoma.
Certainly.
The only pain that he actually had was in his arm, believe it or not. Yes. He went into the doctor to have just a routine blood test done because he was diabetic. And he happened to mention to the doctor that he had this pain in his arm. The very next morning, we got a phone call saying that something wasn't quite right. His alkaline phosphatase was elevated, yes. And they wanted him to come in for an ultrasound. The ultrasound showed that he had 6 lesions on his liver. That was followed by an MRI that found the mass in the breast. Okay. And one test led to another, to another, to another. When all was said and done, his breast cancer had already metastasized or spread from his breast into his liver, into his lymph nodes, yes. Into both lungs. Into both lungs? Both lungs.
It was really advancing quite quickly.
Into his bones, which was the result of the pain. The pain was caused by that. And he also had 8 tumors in his brain. We didn't know anything was wrong.
Certainly. And you did say, which does happen for our public to know, that these things can happen without you feeling pain.
Oh,
sometimes
yes.
There is pain, but in his case, there was not.
Correct.
And once it spread, did it spread very aggressively, or had it been over a long period of time, or you really may not know? Sometimes we don't know.
And we don't know that for sure. Our oncologist told us that it was probably, had been there for a while. And when I asked how long that term was, she said that it could have been anywhere from 6 months over. But his was extremely aggressive. With breast cancer, you have the estrogen, progesterone, and what they call HER2.
HER2. Tell us what HER2 is.
I can't tell you exactly what that is. I would have to look that up again. Okay. They just refer to it as HER2. Right. Okay. And Marlon was my husband's name. And he was estrogen positive, okay. Progesterone negative, okay. HER2 positive. And the HER2 positive is an extremely aggressive form of breast cancer.
I see. Many years ago, there have been some male movie stars and others who
yes.
were discovered to have had breast cancer. Richard Roundtree was one.
Yes, he was.
Several years ago. And perhaps you know of some others. I remember reading about Richard Roundtree. Not only does he remain one of our favorite stars and someone that the public would want to follow, but because breast cancer in men was so rare and almost unheard of 30, 40 years ago.
Correct, correct. Another one from quite a while ago, I believe in about 2007, Peter Criss.
Yes, Peter Criss.
Yes, he was the original drummer from the group Kiss.
Yes.
And it's my understanding that Peter is still doing well.
Good.
I spoke with his wife at the time that my husband was sick. And she said that they tried to get the word out at that time about male breast cancer, and at that time it was not spoken of, and so they didn't get a real good response on it. Now, possibly you also would remember the original announcer on The Price is Right.
Yes, I do.
When
him.
he would say, "Come on down,"
Yes.
call your name. He had breast cancer.
Okay.
He did not die with his breast cancer, but he also had been diagnosed. And at the beginning of October this year, Matthew Knowles, and that is Beyonce's father,
Indeed.
he was on Good Morning America and stated that he has breast cancer. Michael Strahan was the gentleman interviewing him.
Yes.
And afterwards, Michael Strahan said, you know, I'm going to have to start checking myself over because my brother has breast cancer.
Okay.
And later, when Michael Strahan went back into the Good Morning America table,
Yes.
Robin Roberts was there and said her brother has breast cancer. So there's a lot of breast cancer out there.
Yes.
And having the celebrities talk about it are making it more aware.
Certainly.
to the public.
Certainly. You know, Pat, one of the most important lessons I think we can learn from this is how important it is to have regular checkups, to have physical examinations, to make certain that people have access to medical care so they can see physicians and be taken care of.
Absolutely.
It is often very well known that men do not care for themselves as well as women in many cases. I have made certain to have my annual physical examination, that if something doesn't seem quite right with my body, I make an appointment to see the doctor. It is very important to do that, but it is also essential to at least have access to the health care so that we can do that.
That is very true.
Is there an organization, is there a foundation or a clinic in the area that specializes in examinations for breast cancer, or are we doing well to know that we can contact our physician and make certain that we can be examined?
We are doing what we can to get the word out to men and women that men have to watch for the breast cancer. I was contacted after my husband died. I had his car wrapped, which hopefully you were able to see as you pulled up into the parking lot.
We did.
And
we did.
I also put together a flyer speaking of my husband and his breast cancer, because his daughter also had breast cancer. And so that is another whole topic that needs to be discussed.
Yes.
But I then went forward and contacted the different television stations and newspapers in the areas where my husband used to teach. And I said, you know, he was a part of your community. We have got to get this word out.
Yes.
Your people recognize him because he was a part of your community.
Certainly.
We've got to talk about male breast cancer. And There was an excellent story that was written by the Grand Island Independent, actually,
Okay.
because my husband taught at Red Cloud, Nebraska.
Yes, I know of
And
Red Cloud
and
Grand
he
Island.
was living in Grand Island for a time being. And so the Grand Island Independent did an amazing article, and it got picked up literally around the world.
That's important.
And I received a phone call one day from a lady down in Prairie Village, Kansas, which is a suburb of Kansas City.
Kansas City, indeed.
And she had seen the article and the pictures of my car on the internet. And she told me her story,
Okay.
which was her son was 17 years old, playing football in high school, and he found a lump.
At 17?
17, yes, 17. And he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "You're going through puberty. Don't worry about it. It's a calcium deposit. It will be fine." Thankfully, his was not aggressive.
Good.
And several years later, he started having drainage from that same side, from that nipple area. And they went back into another doctor. They did have another biopsy done. It did show that it was malignant. And so he has had a mastectomy. And he has been married for a year now. He is a 9-year survivor of breast cancer.
Okay.
Yes. And he is a proud daddy of a little girl that is just a couple of months old now. So it is survivable,
Congratulations to
but
him.
we've
Indeed
got to
it
get
is.
the word out to people.
Yes.
Early detection is definitely the key. When he came out of his surgery, by this time he was 24.
Okay.
He first found his lump when he was only 17.
Yes, indeed.
And so he made a promise to his doctor. He said, "You get me through this, and I'll make sure that no other man ever feels like he's making this walk alone."
Good.
And so he co-founded the Male Breast Cancer Coalition, and it is around the world. We have members in Japan, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, a lot of them down in Australia. But he has co-founded with another gal that's actually out in New Jersey. And so that is the organization that I recommend people contact.
Good.
We have a lot of resources available through them.
Okay.
We have doctors that are associated with us. They wouldn't see them,
Certainly.
for an exam,
Yes.
but if you have any kind of questions, the doctor will look at your question and say, "Please get in touch with your oncologist immediately," or, "This is not anything to worry about. Wait until you go in the next time and then visit with your oncologist."
Excellent.
And we also
Excellent.
have a gal that is, she has founded, they're called Heal in Comfort shirts.
Okay.
Now, I have not been through a mastectomy, but apparently it's extremely uncomfortable. And these shirts have a Velcro front. They have pockets on the inside for all of the drains and the
Yes.
drain tubes.
Yes.
And people that have used them have said they're amazing.
That's very
We
good
have
to
another
know.
another lady that is associated that has developed the sleeves
Yes.
that they can put on if you deal
Yes.
with lymphedema at all.
Okay.
We have an amazing amount of resources
Yes.
available. And so I do suggest, first of all, if the men notice anything, they need to go in and see a primary care physician first.
Let's repeat that for our public. Early detection is essential.
Yes.
And it will be very important in saving the life of someone who
Yes.
may have breast cancer. Breast cancer, as your wonderful flyer says, for those of you who are watching, breast cancer does not discriminate. Men, women, no matter what racial or ethnic background, you can develop breast cancer.
And let's add age on that too.
Indeed.
Does not matter if you are older or younger. You know, the American Cancer Society, let me share this statistic with you. The American Cancer Society says that the average age for men to be diagnosed with breast cancer is anywhere from age 62 to 68. I just told you about one gentleman that was 17.
17.
We've got another gentleman down in Hollywood, Florida. He was 17.
Okay.
I have met several this past year that were in their 30s when they were diagnosed.
Okay.
Personally, I feel that the age is set too high. Okay. I do think that it should probably be lower than that. The American Cancer Society also says that this year that we're in right now, 2019, that we will have approximately 2,670 men in the United States that will be diagnosed with breast cancer.
By the end of this year?
By the end of this year. And there will be approximately 500 men that will die this year because of breast cancer.
Because of breast cancer. Mm-hmm. My friends, early detection is essential. See your primary care physician regularly. Pay attention to your body. We have just heard of a young man who was 17 years old. He paid attention to his body, and he's alive now, starting a family and enjoying life. And life can indeed be saved if we pay attention. I have had two very dear friends who are breast cancer survivors. Each
Wonderful.
one of them, it was detected early. Each one has had a mastectomy, but they were able to have the reconstructed surgery, and they have been able to live life to the fullest and to continue enjoying life.
Yes.
And so let us pay attention to our bodies, be healthy, see your primary care physician. There are free clinics in the area. Take advantage and take care of your body. My friends, it's essential. Pat, please share a bit more with us about this. We've talked about early detection. We've talked about age is not a factor. Gender is not a factor. There's a growing number of men who are being detected with breast cancer. What other things can we do to take care of ourselves?
You know, I always tell men there are 4 different things that I tell them to watch for. And quite honestly, their spouses or their partners, their loved ones, are possibly going to have to help them find, you know, if there is a problem going on. May I go through the 4 things that I share with our men?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
So the first thing that I always tell them to watch for is a lump. Feel for lumps. Make sure that you include the collarbone area as well as the underarms because of the lymph nodes that are there.
Yes.
And the lumps can be hard, they can be soft, they can be tiny, they can be large. Just make sure that you feel for a lump. The second thing that I tell my men is take your shirt off and look in a mirror. Get to know yourself. You know, none of us are symmetrical, none of us are perfect, but we should be close.
Yes.
And you need to know if there is a change in your skin, you need to watch for a scaly patch. You need to watch for a rash that doesn't go away. You need to watch if you ever have a patch of skin that dimples, and that means that it kind of takes on the appearance of an orange peel. Okay, that is not normal. Keep an eye on it for a couple of days, then get a hold of your primary care physician as quickly as possible. The third thing is the nipple area itself. Yes. If it ever becomes inverted. And gentlemen, just so you know, that is probably the one thing that I hear the most from our men, that is how they found their own breast cancer, was because that nipple had become inverted. There is something inside growing, and it's pulling it in. So that is something to keep an eye on. The fourth thing that I tell men is any kind of drainage. You should not have drainage from a nipple area. And if there is, you know, Beyonce's father, Michael Knowles, said he found his because of a small drop of blood on his T-shirt. And his wife said that she had noticed a small drop of blood on their sheets.
I see.
So it is imperative that if that happens, you see a doctor. Now, those are the four most common,
yes,
but definitely not the only ways that they can determine whether or not they have something going on. And also, when you or I, as women, go in to see our doctors for our physicals, they will check our breasts. With a man, they don't. Unless you specifically ask.
Okay.
Because we have never discussed men getting breast cancer.
Certainly. So it just doesn't come to mind often.
Right. Okay. There was just an article that the Male Breast Cancer Coalition published on Facebook. It was copied on Facebook. Yes. And it was a doctor in the United Kingdom, the doctor himself, that ended up with breast cancer. And he said that he practiced for so many years. Certainly. And he said, I have never seen a man with breast cancer, and now I have it.
Yes. Yes.
So our physicians, male and female both, overlook the fact that this is something we need to check on with our men. Absolutely. It happens. Absolutely. It's not nearly as rare as anybody says that it is.
Especially with, as you have shared, growing numbers of men who have breast cancer. Yes. It is essential that we pay attention, that we take advantage of the resources in our community that are offered to us. And I am deeply concerned for each and every person, for our physical health, our emotional well-being.
Oh, yes.
And certainly to know that if we are in a position to catch an illness in the early stages, the opportunities for survival just multiply for us.
They do.
Pat, in the few minutes we have left, what other information could you share with us? Either resources, the Breast Cancer Coalition, you've shared that, and I suppose we can Google Breast Cancer Coalition to find the link?
Yes, you can find them simply at malebreastcancercoalition.org.
malebreastcancercoalition.org.
Yes.
There's the site, and you can access it and have people who can assist you, doctors who can help refer you. You can find out information so that you can be your own best advocate.
Absolutely.
We are our own best advocates in our health care.
Yes, yes. And I would just stress to our men that go in for your physicals, please don't be embarrassed. Don't be scared to ask your doctor to do a chest exam on you. Every one of us has breast tissue, and that is something that has just been overlooked. Men don't like to think of themselves as having breasts.
Certainly.
But we do. Every one of us has breast tissue.
Indeed.
And so every one of us can get breast cancer. And I don't want any other man to go through what my husband went through. Certainly. They had hoped to give him 5 years, 5 quality years.
Yes.
He had 5 months.
Did he? 5 months?
5 months, yes, yes. And they were a pretty rough 5 months.
I can imagine.
So I don't want any other man to go through what my husband went through. Certainly. I don't want any other family to go through what we have gone through.
Indeed. Indeed.
And if it just means that I need to get out there and talk to people, that's what I'm doing. I literally am traveling the United States right now.
Okay.
with the car that is parked out front. I call it my Marlin
Very
Mobile.
uniquely designed.
Yes, it is.
And unforgettable when you see it. And that's good.
Yes.
That's important.
Yes, it's the only one in the world, literally.
Indeed.
And I travel around the United States. I've put about 30,000 miles on it this year. And just talking to people. If I have an opportunity at a gas station, I will
Certainly.
talk to them at a gas station.
Good.
Or at a hotel or at a restaurant.
Certainly.
Yes.
And what you are doing is informing the public. My friends who are watching this program today, Pat Washburn will inform you about the importance of caring for your body so that you will live a good, productive, enjoyable life. And she travels to educate, to inform, to assist, to help, and to prolong the lives of people in our community. Pat, is there a particular number or a place where you can be accessed in case someone would like to contact you directly?
Anyone is welcome to call my cell phone directly. I do have an Iowa number, even though I live in Nebraska. And yes, my telephone number is 712-574-1255.
Would you repeat that just once more, please?
Absolutely. 712-574-1255. And you will definitely hear back from me.
My friends, there you have it today. Pat Washburn, you have her cell phone number. You have the website for the Breast Cancer Coalition. Take care of yourselves. You have been watching Eyes on Omaha. We are grateful today to have had Pat Washburn, and we look forward to bringing you more people who are making a change for the positive in our community. My friends, keep your eyes on Omaha. Good day.